Welcome to the Be Meaningful podcast, an unrehearsed, unscripted conversation about a real brand in real time with Brian and Bogey, the founders of Meaningful, an agency that helps brands find a meaningful place in the world. Brian and Bogey sit down with Maggie Lower, global CMO for ABC Fitness. The conversation goes wide and deep as they talk about passion, empathy, and a vision for future growth that will come by embracing a broader definition of wellness for a larger population of people.
As you've kind of picked up on the vibe, we're very casual. We just jump in and we talk.
Too casual.
Sometimes too casual. Yeah. Brian's here struggling. As I mentioned, technology.
I'm trying to get this is going to go bad. This is going to go real bad, real fast.
Brian, Bogey did warn us that Tech and you were not good friends always.
I'm just going to hold it. Screw it. Okay, here we go.
No, don't hold it. Don't hold it. Set it up. You're not going to hold it for the next 30 minutes, my dude.
Yeah. Okay, then give me a second.
Go ahead.
I'm still here. I'm just
so while Brian is reassessing his life, Maggie, we'd love to let's just have you jump in and just do a quick intro. Who are you? Yeah. ABC Fitness. That's a fun name. Like, just give us a quick, maybe a 2-sentence intro. What is going on here?
Okay, I would be happy to give you. Well, 2 sentences is kind of hard, depending on which aspect of my life you want to talk about. But I guess we're here to talk about ABC Fitness.
They can be compound sentences.
They can be compound. Thank you. Yeah. Conjunctions and all the punctuation. Okay, Brian, you're a good sport. So Maggie Lower, I have been at ABC Fitness now for about 3 months.
Sorry, I'm going to stop kibitzing.
Maybe I should go get a glass of wine. I don't know. It might help.
Well,
so Maggie Lower, I've been at ABC Fitness for 3 months, and I am the global marketing and communications officer. So ABC is the largest fitness tech brand in the world that you've never heard of, because we power, we're kind of the engine behind gyms and boutiques and one-to-one training. So it's a really fascinating business. It's really a technology company with an eye towards changing the boundaries of fitness. That fitness isn't just what happens inside the gym. It's your mindset all day long and everything that surrounds it. So excited to expand the conversation around it, and love the company. But I've been CMOing for 15 years. Have kind of a non-traditional career path, but have enjoyed every moment of it.
That's
nice. Most career moments, to be honest. Nobody enjoys every career moment. But we call those learning moments. So
hey, that's the best. What's your favorite learning moment?
Oh gosh. Why did I do that to myself?
You did it. You teed it up for me.
I did. Favorite learning moment. Wow. I think my favorite learning moment was when we were doing the brand launch for Alight. And Alight Solutions was a multi-billion-dollar spinoff from Aon Hewitt. And so we were selling the company to Blackstone. And we did a full soup to nuts brand, like new company name, registering in 9 countries, mission, vision, values, the whole thing, visual identity, website, brand store, everything. We had 4 months to do it. And so we moved into the basement of an agency, a small group of us, and lived it around the clock. And it was just everything. I mean, it was our whole life. And I just had a baby. So that was, I just had a newborn. And the weekend before the launch, everything was under lock and key. And the weekend before the launch, the mailing went out to the virtual employees first. And I'm walking out the door to take the first night off that I've taken in 5 months, right? And this mailing goes out, and I start getting this text storm, have you seen this? Everybody's taking pictures of what came in their mail. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what has gone on? So then the head of comms calls me, the CEO calls me, and we realized in that moment that there was a really interesting opportunity to bring the work from home people into it as a preview. And it was just this really beautiful moment of taking what felt like I was going to melt into like the Earth's crust and turned into a really lovely moment of just strategizing on how to bring more people into the conversation and make people that feel like they're on the outside in. And when I went down to the office to check on the team, people were just devastated that it happened. And I just saw my team rally together in a way that was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, right? I mean, our creative director was beside herself and people were worried about the implications of this, quote unquote mistake. And I mean, to this day, I love those people. I've never seen people fight for each other and have each other's back like they did in that moment. It was just a really, if you can look at, failure differently, there's some really beautiful moments in it if you just don't accept it at face value, if you look for what's there. And I think I've taken that into the rest of my career. I try really hard to take that into the rest of my career. So that's probably my favorite learning moment. It didn't.
Wow, that was like a podcast episode all unto itself. No, that was cool. Seriously? Because what I'm getting from that is something that I've tried to articulate, not well, but what's so important in like the story you just shared, and kind of what we've said in the last, I don't know, 15 years, whatever, in, wherever we've worked and now in Meaningful with clients is like, there's always something, there's always a new front, right? A new channel, a new platform, a new something, right? And everybody's trying to find the expert on that. And it's everybody is on a perpetual learning curve, right? Because change is constantly happening. So it's less, if you're an expert, you're an expert for 18 months, and
if you're lucky.
So, yeah, right. And so you don't want to work with so-called experts. You want to work with people who can make sense of what's happening in real time. And what I liked about your story and why I just violently went like to another one is they're connected. No, really, they're connected in that, like, you were aware in real time of what was happening, like to you, to the community, and I think people miss that. And sometimes in hindsight, they can look back and go, oh yeah, I look back now. But to actually understand that, at least to some degree, as it's happening, that can't be taught. And that's a trait, I think, that makes people really, really good marketing people.
Yeah.
Anyways, end of sermon.
Marketing, you have to be nothing if not really malleable, right? I mean, I just think that if you're going to try to stay still in marketing, you're either going to get run over or it's just going to pass you by. You're
not staying still, because everything's more. Yeah, and you're right. And when you say things like, when they're little adages, they become trite. Like you got to be agile, you got to be pliable, you got to be. That language is in business circles all the time, organizational management and stuff. But until you can bring it down to the ground in a real case or experience, it's just like a helium balloon. It doesn't whatever. It's like servant leadership. Okay,
Yeah, I think you better have a sense of humor. I think that's actually really important. I think it's really important to have a sense of humor to be in I think marketing can take itself so seriously, and I think when you lose your humor about it, you just become less relevant all the time. I think there are areas of our craft where people just take themselves so seriously, and I feel like that misses the point. It closes your field of vision.
Human is also what makes us humor is what makes us human,
Totally.
And it's funny, you said humor.
Imperfections, humor, humor, imperfections, all that. And brands, they try to pasteurize, themselves so that there's no curd, there's no imperfections, and that's wrong. People won't connect to you as humans. They won't root for you because you're trying to be this like mannequin in a window. It's just. Yeah. Humanizing brands. There you go, Bogey.
There you go. I say
we got there. We got there, guys. That was great. Yeah. Teamwork.
Let's talk about ABC Fitness. We love to ask a question. Yeah.
Okay. Go. No, go. Do it. Sorry. I'm still wired from the tech like abuse that the maelstrom, the flak field I had to fly through just to get so I just need like a shot or a triple shot with a shot. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're in a safe space, just so you know. Do what you got to do.
Oh, I love that. So the question we like to ask our guests is, what's the dream? What's the vision?
The dream. I have an answer to this. I'm trying to decide how much of it I should be sharing at this point because it's all still a little bit in the lab. But what I would say is what we've learned during COVID, right, is that fitness in many ways was alienating and it was othering and that it was for people that were already fit. And COVID, I think, helped us to do a lot of self-reflection as an industry and say, fitness is actually for everyone. And there are all these modalities that are accessible for everyone. And it's your sleep. It's what you put into your body. It's when you actually take a break from the gym. It's when you go to the gym. It's whether you choose, the mat or the weights. It's, making the right food choices. It's meditation. There's so many different areas that really, it's not a fitness conversation, it's a wellness conversation. And I think ABC is really uniquely positioned and had a lot of foresight in looking ahead and seeing that the world of fitness and the world of wellness is changing. We talk about this group of people called fitness explorers. They're constantly looking for different products and services and modalities. And it's how you end up with things like goat yoga, and Pilates yoga and all of these things that are happening because people are looking for new and different and innovative ways to get in touch with their body, right? And to understand how to have everything that's going on inside of them work for them so that they can live longer and live longer healthier. And I think that's really the core of ABC. And those are the people that we help, we work with people that are passionate about that. And I think, a lot of B2B brands excuse themselves from being human and excuse themselves from being brand shops because they lose sight of the actual impact of the company that they're servicing, right? And so we're really trying to take that customer perspective and bring it inside versus, hey, we're a tech company. No, we're a wellness solutions outfit, and we're excited to help people think about different ways to get more folks engaged in fitness. So the dream's a big one, but fitness, essentially fitness isn't just a workout. It's a mindset. It's a way to live your life.
I love that. I love that you actually did dream. That was big.
It is big.
And
it's really,
it's not one step, but it's something to move toward, right?
Yeah.
And so that is, something you said in response to something I said about marketers trying to be static and trying to being scared or looking that there's speaking of wellness, in therapy, recovering counseling therapy stuff. It's there's this. One of the most amazing but simple ideas is we know even in medicine, right? Pain is a catalyst for change, right?
Yeah.
Right. Pain is right. So pain pushes, but then desire pulls. And that's the dream component. If you really have something, it can be big, but you will move toward that. And then, you pick up James Clear, Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read that. It's intimidating.
I've read the summary notes. I have read those, but sitting down and reading a whole book is kind of hard at times. But I do know the upside of it, upshot of it.
Well, so for me, great things bum me out because I don't spend as much time in them or make as much progress as I wish. But Atomic Habits is brilliant. It's really cool. And as you're talking. This dream that you talk about, are you imagining growing into that organically, or do you see it as partnerships? Because I'm thinking there's literally 3 clients, or we've done projects for, so they were, temporal clients, I guess, new category. Mindy, 360 Regen, and Clean Market. That's all about wellness, right? One is mental fitness, right?
Yep.
And then the other is about regenerative health, and Clean Market's kind of into that. They're kind of a little slightly more conventional, but they're into nutrition, which is what they're focusing more on. So it's really, and then when you were first talking, I'm thinking like perfect partnership with Calm, do something with them, right? So it's kind of cool.
I'm not going to tell you guys everything we're going to do. I'm not going to do it. You're very seductive and pulling me into this conversation, Brian, but I'm joking. It is both. It is both. Yeah. So we're definitely, we're an acquisitive company, right? Like we actually have a phenomenal investor that backs us, Thoma Bravo. They're incredible. And so, we are opportunistic. We're always looking at the market to see what makes the most sense for our offering. Yeah. But I would tell you, we also take very seriously culture matching, right? So if the cultures aren't going to work together, that's going to take them out of any kind of M&A conversation. But partnerships, the way I think about it, aren't just the solutions. It's who are people that are doing things in the branded world of wellness that we think are interesting. And so I think what you're going to see from us are some content partnerships, some thought leadership partnerships, but then also some solution partnerships and likely more M&A, because I think there's a lot of different ways to crack that nut. And my brain thinks in what are different ways we can, like, I grew up in the world of when we talked about surprise and delight. Remember that era of marketing, like 15, 20 years ago, and you're always talking about surprise and delight, and it had a pretty strong impact on how I think about marketing. I think it's really neat to come to a conversation with an angle that other people aren't really considering. And so we're having conversations with my team, and I have a brilliant team, is how do we surprise people? How do we get more people engaged in marketing? How do we get people that feel like it's not for them to feel like it's for them? How do we have more people feel seen by the wellness industry? And so I think for us, that creates so many more opportunities to be unexpected. If you aren't just thinking about the gym rat and, the Pilates instructor and the person running around in, athleisure, you're thinking about the person who's been in a wheelchair for 5 years, or the diabetic that can't move, or somebody that just today, is able to stand up and take 10 steps. Like, there's different ways to celebrate wellness that don't have to look like one thing. That's what gets me really excited about the industry. And, in fairness, I left marketing for 1.5 years to be a human rights activist. So I took a 1.5 year sabbatical just to work for the LGBT community. And the CEO called me and said, I really want you to come and take this job. And I thought, I really like human rights. So, and it was the opportunity to think about fitness and wellness differently. That's why I'm here. And that's what got me really excited, is that this big dream didn't scare him and didn't scare the team. They were excited to think about it differently. So.
A lot of marketers haven't really grasped that there's been a shift over the last couple decades from, conventionally marketing or branding was, I have a product. Now give me an idea to help me sell that product. And what's happened really since, 2000 or whatever, 2000 plus, in the last 20 years, there's been a paradigm shift, and a lot of it is just because the digital landscape shifted and push doesn't work, and pull and on-demand markets of one times hundreds of millions, is that paradigm from product, give me an idea, is I have an idea and the product is the medium. And so I see as you're talking, it's like, all the software and stuff is the way you're making possible and connecting with an idea. And a lot of people would think, a lot of marketers or a lot of business people would go like, oh, come on, selling an idea. We sell a damn product and we got to make money, But you need to understand that product is a vehicle, a conduit, a medium for an idea. Right. People are buying that idea.
That's right. That's right.
And so that's cool, right. Because you're talking exactly that way, which I think is smart. What are we at? What could we possibly, other than commending you on everything you're saying? Boy.
Well,
I don't know, Bogey.
Well, I have a great question. The another question we love to ask our guests is, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, What keeps me up at night?
Yeah, the election.
I mean, that kept me up the other night.
Date the podcast. We'll cut that out.
Yeah, it kept me up the other night. I think for me, what's the most thrilling and at times confounding part of branding is, how do you continually humanize brands without preaching? How do you continually become relevant without, being prescriptive? And I think the real judo move in all of this is going to be ensuring that we keep people engaged and ensuring that we're pushing ourselves to think about those that aren't currently feeling like they're part of the conversation. And that's what keeps me up at night. How are we going to continually think about people that are being ignored that probably need to be in this conversation more than anyone? That actually, it keeps me up at night. And I think the reason I say that to you is the same reason that I did not give up the work I do with Safe Place International, right? It grounds me. It keeps me really connected to what's going on in the rest of the world. So I work on behalf of queer refugees and asylum seekers. If I could think of a group of people that need wellness solutions, think about that group of people, right? They live in countries where it's illegal to be queer or they've escaped. And so that's constantly kind of informing how I think of the world. That's constantly helping me have my head on a swivel of who should we be paying attention to that we're not paying attention to? Who is disengaged? Because they have this lens through which they see humanity that they can bring into people that have privilege. And, that's one example, but what keeps me up at night at ABC is how do we get to the most people fast enough? And how do we do it in a way that feels relevant? And how do we do it in a way that feels respectful, right? That you're welcome here. And that is really the core of everything I've ever done in branding. I want people that don't feel seen to feel seen. And that's what keeps me up at night. How can we do that well and fast?
And there's a third element, because I normally I'm not this kind of person, but when I'm listening, somebody somewhere is going to say, and monetize it.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I didn't do it for free.
Wouldn't we all?
Right. I mean, I think that that's also important because without resources, you can't innovate, right? Without resources, you can't cast a wide net. And I don't think we have to apologize for wanting to run a company in a healthy, responsible, and profitable way. That has to be part of the skill set. You don't get to do cool things if you don't deploy capital in a responsible, thoughtful way. So that's a great third bullet that should always be there. I just assume it's the packaging. It's the wrapper around all of it.
Yeah. No, that broaches a conversation that I would have thought at large, I would have thought would be more robust now. And it seems to have lost steam. And that is the whole shareholder versus stakeholder capitalism, which, they both acknowledge the need for profit, right? That's right. Obviously, you wouldn't be a business but I think the problem with shareholder capitalism is that, thanks to Milton Friedman, it's profit is the reason, as opposed to profit is the fruit of a good business, as opposed to the reason for the business. So. And I think that is probably going to take a generation or two for that shift, hopefully one, for that to shift. And as millennials and Gen Z come in, right, that will shift. Boomers aren't going to give up their 401s and their stock markets. They're, unfortunately, and I love Tim O'Reilly. I heard him put it this way, that it's the difference between shareholder capitalism is wealth extraction and stakeholder capitalism, or just another way to look at it, is wealth creation. How to generate wealth as opposed to extract it. And that shift has got to happen, I think. Hopefully will. But that's hard for a business, if they're entrenched in shareholder capitalism and they've had a 50-year run. It's hard to make that shift. I mean, one of the best stakeholder capitalism mission statements I've ever come across is Johnson & Johnson. It's like, it is textbook perfect, but they don't really live it out, I don't think.
Yeah. I think those things are getting more and more PR, right? If what you're doing on the inside and what you're reflecting in the outside aren't matching up in some way. And I mean, everybody gets it wrong at times. I don't want to pretend like people get that right all the time, because they don't. And I think if you try to get it right most of the time, you're going to be granted more grace than if you don't. But I do believe that you don't build a brand because of one thing. You don't build it because of one tagline or, your visual identity. Those things all are part of a conversation and a set of millions and millions of micro interactions that you have with your investors and your vendors and your employees and your shareholders and your backers and everything else. And I think if you are just consistently dissonant with what you're saying, it's not going to work. People are looking for your values as a company, and they're not going to give you a pass. They just
and really, what the internet did is brought us into the age of transparency. You can see anything in the world. That's the tragic story of Twitter, is that it really was a great driver. That within 10 minutes, the entire world can see what's real. Is that not who they are anymore? But that was cool, and I think that's why institutional trust is at a historic low. It's just age of transparency. People see it and they're like, we've been working on this. This is, I don't want to get off, but we've been working on, this idea of it's as we look and think about this, the biggest, that very important thing that every marketer needs to be working on is trust.
Yeah.
Because that's where this country, it's, and trust doesn't go away. People hold it, right? We're human and we want to place our trust somewhere. We're just looking for a place worthy of our trust, right? And that's going to be based on shared values. And like you said, consistency, you're not dissonant all the time. And we've been saying, trust, it's the first transaction, like before the click or the credit card.
Yep.
That's the first soul transaction, transaction of the heart is trust. And before I give you, my time, before I give you my money, before I give you my information, my data, before I give you my hopes and dreams, I've got to trust you. And I think a lot of marketers, I know Covey's got the whole trust thing, but that's more of an organizational philosophy kind of thing about the speed of trust. But it's, again, everything, context is everything. That's the point of meaningful, at least part of it. And right now we're trying to market to a world where trust is at an all-time low.
Yeah.
And trust, I'm kind of giving you a preview of where we might go, but trust that's human currency. That's,
That's right.
So
it's interesting. Cool. How do it takes years to build it and a moment to lose it. It really is. It's heartbreaking. It can be. Yeah. I'd be curious to ask you guys, what do you think builds trust between an offering or a company or a service and their customers? Let's just call them customers, clients, whatever the case may be.
I think, in terms of messaging, you mean, and marketing, or in terms of us and a client, which are you?
I think it could be either. Answer whichever feels right to you.
I think as I'm thinking about it in the wake of, phonetic sounds coming out of my mouth, I think it's both. I think it would be for both. And that is one, you're an open book, right? You're honest, right? I'm not selling you a used car. And part of that, same in marketing, is, don't be afraid to show your warts. That's part of what makes you human, right? Because businesses are cultures, right? Businesses are people. And until they become a super PAC, because anyways, but they are, right? It's just a community of people, right? And you should have a collective mindset, a collective persona, right? And I think, if you go way back in the 50s, 60s, Howard Gossage, San Francisco guy, did amazing campaigns that he would key in on the challenge or the conflict, right? Because every brand is part of, it's Simon Sinek's What's Your Why, right? And so your brand narrative is kind of, and it usually comes out of your origin, which is remember why you started. What are you trying to accomplish? This is your great goal. But then you're the protagonist in the story. What's your antagonist? Like, what is your antagonist right now? And I think understanding that and not being afraid to share your challenge, your conflicts, your struggles, your hopes, your dream, that makes you human. And I think people are drawn to that and they start to root for you, especially when what you're trying to achieve and what you're struggling with are the same things they want to see and they struggle with. And so that's the shared values, that come together. And, I've been in a lot of big agencies, traditional agencies, and I hated it because when the client came in, so I'm jumping from market to like relationships, the client would come in and, they're uptight because they're reading the atmosphere and the atmosphere is uptight because the agency is uptight because the agency wants to be infallible and they want to look buttoned up, and it just, I hate that kind of pretense, so I'd always get in. I never rehearsed for any presentation. It made people white knuckled, but I was okay. It always worked out because whatever I'm saying is in me. I'm not rehearsing or memorizing. It's like, it's just, I'm going to tell you what I believe, what I'm passionate about, and that's it. And so I think trust comes out of authenticity. Trust comes out of transparency. Trust comes out of fallibility, all those things. Right. And, just in politics, like there's no trust because everybody's trying to look infallible. And it's like, gee, and I think it's probably other things, but that comes to mind, I think.
I love that
which you
answer.
could say in a nutshell is humanizing brands, especially in a digitized world, right? When Amazon,
everything's generated.
well, the Amazon effect. Yeah. But the Amazon effect, right, is this paradox that the more virtual our experiences are, the more we crave human touch, right? So as one dials up, it's dialing up the other because we're human and we want to connect, right? We want authentic interaction, not virtual interaction, So anyways.
Well said. I talk a lot about merging your craft with advocacy and finding authenticity in the work that you do. And, I think the more that you can find ways to do things you're passionate about, some of your best work comes out. And I'm just curious how that strikes either of you, because you've worked on some incredible brands. I mean, I did my research on you two as well. I think it's interesting, the brands that attract to you, right, are also things that you want to work on. At least I'd like to believe that. So, how do you think about advocacy and authenticity and branding? I know you've talked about humanizing, but I'd love to know kind of what's your thesis on that.
I can bring up one quick example, and then Brian, if you want to talk about it. I think one thing I'll jump on quickly is because it's so fresh in our minds. Is like we're working right now with a client that's targeting the immigrant population, right? The first generation, maybe second generation, and for us, it's easy to come it from a outside perspective. Oh, you're poor you're immigrants here. Let us help you. Blah blah blah. But it's not until you have that inner experience that you can actually speak to it, right? So again, I'm an immigrant, so I came to this country as a kid. I understand what it means to not have health insurance. I understand what it means to when you're scraping and you're getting help from the government to pay for the groceries. Like I get that perspective, and once you can truly understand from their lens, I think at that point you can actually do some good work. I think at the end of the day, but that's just a quick anecdote on my end. I don't know, Brian.
But it also, I think on top of that, also you have to have a heart for wanting to. It's almost like prophetic in the sense like biblically prophetic means to uproot and plant. And I think messaging can uproot and plant people. So if your identity, right, as an immigrant, or you're a person who doesn't have a lot of money, maybe you're even homeless, right, in New York, that's where this client is. You see yourself as a handout, as need, as somebody that's, is there anything I can dial in and get something from because I need stuff, right? And nobody gives a shit about me because I'm on the low rung of the ladder, right? And so if that's an identity, the work we were proposing is no, you're a New Yorker.
Yeah.
This is this sweaty, churning mosh pit of 8 million people is one tough city, one tough, beautiful city. And you know what? Hats off to you. You're here. And, being here is all that's required for you to have earned or achieved, I don't know. I don't know if we shouldn't even say what it is, but to be taken care of. Yeah, to be taken care of. So we can't tell you what. I mean, I already probably told you too much, but that idea that you're a New Yorker. You've earned it. And it doesn't matter. Because you could live on Park Avenue, or you could live, in the worst part of the Bronx. You both are. You're working it, and that's what New Yorkers do. And so you've earned it, and so it's not a handout. And so what we said to them is, we're not really selling, your product. We're selling an identity, and the product is the medium. So I'm going back to that. And they totally were they were digging that. And so I think you have to be passionate. Even before you get into whatever the business category of the client is, you have to be passionate about that kind of stuff, that anthropological lens of how can what does this mean in the larger context of society, and how can this product, and it could be a bar of soap, or an investment company, a financial company. It's how do either of these things help people accomplish their dreams and desires, And I know that sounds, kind of prosaic and vapid, but there is a way to do it, right? We do it for data centers, that data centers have to feed the insatiable appetite of AI and do it without burning the planet. Well, our client does. It doesn't use the water and the energy that others, so it's it really needs to be, it's answering that bigger, almost existential issue of how are we going to continue to progress and grow and not destroy ourselves.
Yeah. Well, don't you think at the end of the day, if you look hard enough, you can find the human angle. You just have to want to find it.
You have to. Otherwise, it's shitty work.
That's right.
Advertising can be wonderful. Yeah, advertising can be wonderful, and when it's not wonderful, it's dreary.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot in the nonprofit work, right? We don't want to be in the business of tragedy porn. That's just it's horrible, and it's exploitative, and it, I think joy and resilience connect people. Hate divides them, right? But if you can talk about everything that's possible on the other side of struggle, it's just a richer conversation. And I think that's part of that's kind of the beauty when you get to do that kind of work in marketing. And
it is. And I'm going to give you, I know Bogey's going to shoo us off here, but I'm going to give you a nugget because you said the word joy. And here's an essential truth about joy.
30 seconds.
The nature of
30 seconds.
I know the nature. You're cutting me off though. The nature of joy, right? Its nature is it wants to be shared. Yeah. Joy wants to be shared. And when you think of the things in your life that you experience that feel joyful, your almost involuntary response is to turn to the person next to you and say, isn't that amazing? Isn't this great? Do you see that? And when you can't, it's not consummated. It's not complete. Yeah. Joy wants to be shared.
I just got a free joy nugget from Brian. You just made my day. Joy nugget. Specific kind of nugget, Brian.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.